niche is really helping you sell your products and services and manage and lead the people who sell your products and services. So we've got 20,000 people in our 12 companies currently selling now. And as a company, we've trained over 200,000 sales. So our goal is to make every salesperson who wants to be a top producer a top producer. Sometimes when you become an entrepreneur, you end up just working for yourself. And what we want to help people is really get to that level where their company is working for them and providing them the income and the lifestyle that they deserve and that they really fought for. Why you got into sales, or excuse me, why you became an entrepreneur in the first place. So here's some of our companies. I won't go into huge detail, but you probably, if you've ever had a kid knock on your door in the summer selling books, or if you've ever bought cookie dough wrapping paper from a neighbor kid, or if you've ever had a guy come to your, a guy or gal come to your office and measure you for a suit, and those are some of our companies. You've probably heard of us, maybe even bought from us in the past. And won't go into too much of this, but we've been featured in a lot of different publications for our strategies. And really the reality is we've just kind of isolated what makes selling a system. So we're here to talk about networking today, but I'm really viewing networking as that opportunity where you get to sell what? What are you selling in networking?
Yourself.
You're selling yourself, exactly. And
so, I shouldn't have done that.
That's okay. I'm glad you did, because I don't want to just totally hear me for the whole time. But that's probably usually webinars. That's what gets to happen. I appreciate Becky jumping in. Exactly what I was hoping would happen. So when I'm talking about sales in the networking context, you're selling yourself in a networking event. You don't go to a networking event to actually create a transaction. You go to a networking event to create an opportunity, to create a space where someone might have a future conversation with you about your products and services. So we work with some of these names up here. You might have heard of Google. I don't know if anyone's heard of them before. They're kind of up and coming.
Yeah.
Love them, and dozens, hundreds other companies. So elevate sales, the habits of top producers. And again, this is all through the lens of networking, but you can apply these to any aspect of selling yourself or selling your product, selling your service. What we found, we actually have a guy in our company, one of our senior partners, Gary Michaels, and he did some research for a book he wrote. The book is a few years old now. It's called Getting In and Getting Out. And he did some research for this book. He wanted to find out what made top producers tick. Those entrepreneurs, those sales managers, those salespeople that were really excelling in their profession. He looked at a variety of industries. He looked at automotive. He looked at mortgage and in banking and financial services and insurance, and the list goes on and on and on. He ended up writing about 100 letters to different CEOs and just saying, hey, can I shadow your best people? I'm doing some research. I want to figure out what makes them tick, what makes them different than the people that are barely scraping by. We've all seen that person that's just blown it out of the water, and we've seen that person that's kind of just bobbing along the edge. And who do you want to be? If you're gonna put in 40 or 60 or 80 or whatever many hours a week into your business, do you want to be barely scraping by, or do you want to be, really thriving?
Really thriving. I think we all
yes.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody gets into business to I just want to barely make ends meet for the rest of my life, right?
Exactly.
So that's what Gary went in to figure out, is what made those top producers. Was it a special genetic coding? Was it a chromosome that they got that none of us got, or what was it? And the coolest thing was, it's stuff that's all within our control. So there's some habits of top producers. So if you think of the networking context, what makes someone successful? First of all, there is networking skill. There's the technical aspects of the networking, the thing that you say to someone, or the way you work a room that make you a better networker than maybe some of your peers. We've all seen those people that come to a networking event, and who do they talk to? Just the people that they already know.
Right.
So that would not be an example of a good networking skill. You're working a room, trying to get, maybe setting a goal. I want to get 5 new business cards from people I've never talked to before. But there's lots of networking skills that make people effective at networking. The other thing that top networkers, or again, top producers all have in common is a motivation to do the thing, whatever the thing is. So again, context of a networking event. Are you motivated to go consistently to certain events? There are some events that are only once in a blue moon style event, but there are some events that you really need to show up every week so people get to know you, right? Anybody know an event like that?
Yeah,
I know
one.
Yeah, if you show up, people get to know you better, and then you become a better networker, right? You can't just hope by popping in once in a blue moon that you're going to get all this business coming. You gotta be there, be present. Another thing that we've got to be motivated to, brought up in skills, there's a skill of working the event or working the room. There's also the motivation of working the room. Talking to the person that you've never talked to before instead of just chitty-chatting with the people that you know already really well. The motivation to step outside of your comfort zone. So many of us either avoid networking events or become wallflowers at networking events because we don't have that motivation to get outside of our comfort zone. I promise you, even most extroverts feel awkward sometimes. Where do we summon that courage and that motivation? And then thirdly, the systems. The systems could be a couple different things. It could be, how do we manage the business cards that we get from a networking event? Do we come back to the office and just shove them in a drawer, never to be looked at again? Do we throw them in the round file, right? It's a garbage can if anyone can do that. So how do we manage the leads that we get? The systems can also be, how do I carve out time to proactively attend the right networking events? How do I vet what's the right networking event for me or the right networking opportunity for me? How do I make sure that I don't, something keeps getting in the way, so I keep missing it, The systems can really be viewed in the context of our time management or also our lead generation system. And all these are strung together by our habits. So top producers, top networkers just have really good habits. The beauty about habits, guess what? Anyone can form them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Anyone can form them. It doesn't matter our age or our gender or our race or our market. We're all over the country right now. It doesn't matter any of those things. We can all form really solid networking habits. And that's the key difference between someone who's really gotten good at networking. They just have good habits. And then what kind of keeps that all strung together is the accountability. What's holding us accountable to doing the thing that we don't feel like doing? Because are there times we don't feel like doing it? Like, hey, I got a stack of cards from this event. I don't know that I feel like calling them back. Has anyone ever felt like that? I don't always feel like doing some of these things, but the accountability to doing the hard thing, the important thing, regardless of how we feel, is really kind of the icing on the cake and what will take our networking, our sales, our revenue, our profits to the next level. So y'all with me so far?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Let's stop for just a minute. If you have questions, because I have muted everybody just so that there's not noise. But to the right, if you can probably see it, there's a place where you can write in your questions as we go. If you're on full screen and you can unmute yourself and just let us know, kind of quietly let us know that you have a question for Marjorie, if that's okay. Because Marjorie's, she can handle it.
Do you want to put it in the chat box maybe?
Yeah, that's what I said. They could put it in the chat box. If they're on full screen, they might not see where the chat box is. So in which case they can unmute themselves and just holler out.
If Becky, I'll leave this up to you. If it totally makes sense in the context of a particular slide to have the question in the middle, I'm fine with that if it makes sense, but I'll also leave a good, I said I had to be done at a hard stop at the hour, but I'll try to leave about 10 minutes at the end to answer any questions, to give people my contact information. And I'll also give people an opportunity to get some of our really awesome content for free if they want to shoot me an email. So we'll see. So, some questions you might see might just make sense for the end, and that's good too. So yeah, I'll let you kind of field that.
Perfect, thank you. So
the habits again of top producers, really of top networkers. There's three core ones. Number one, find a way, not an excuse. And it sounds so basic. But I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to pause for a second while you think, because I really want everyone to think, when's the last time we caught ourselves making an excuse, particularly about networking? It doesn't matter if I'm a few minutes late, or I don't need to go to that event because, or I don't need to go every week because, or I don't need to call those cards back because. When's the last time we caught ourselves making an excuse that may not be in our best interest? It's kind of how we feel, not what reality is. And so the kind of the litmus test is it getting you closer to your goal or not? So if it doesn't get you closer to your goal, I'm going to call it an excuse. And I'll give you an example. Some of us were in business during the recession that happened a few years ago. I don't know if any of you remember that really painful 3 or 4 year spread.
Yes.
That was a business reality that many of us faced. And while it was in fact a reality, and there's no denying that there was a recession going on, I still really worked with clients to challenge them to see it as an excuse, because when you just say, oh, well, this is business because there's a recession, it doesn't empower us to do anything about the problem. So I want you to look at anything that doesn't challenge you, doesn't even get at the real problem, doesn't challenge you to do anything about the problem as a problem. So find a way, not an excuse. If a certain group has been really beneficial to your business, we need to find a way to keep cultivating that. If we get a bunch of new contacts for some warm leads or some warm partnerships or some people that would be really great referral partners, we need to find a way to carve out time to cultivate those. So there's a little guy on our shoulder. Everybody sees a little devil guy on our shoulder, and we call that guy Mr. Mediocrity. Mr. Mediocrity is the guy that really prevents us from being our best self. He's the voice that says, you're busy. You can do that tomorrow. I don't know if anyone's ever heard that voice before.
Oh, yes.
Or he says something like, you worked really late yesterday. Why don't you just cut out early today? You earned it. And again, everything that Mr. Mediocrity, when you can tell Mr. Mediocrity's chiming in, is when he's preventing you from being your best self. So what top producers, top networkers do is they brush Mr. Mediocrity off because they realize that those excuses can creep in, and over time they form the wrong habits instead of the right habits. Remember, we're all about habits here. Number two thing that top producers, top networkers do is that they're absolutely students of their game. So they look at a networking opportunity, they go in with goals. I'm gonna, if it's an I take the lead group, I'm gonna meet every new person there. Or I'm gonna find the person that I know, whose business I know the least about, and I'm gonna make sure I speak with them for 5 minutes.
Oh, good.
Right?
That's a good one. Yeah.
At least 5 minutes,
Yeah.
They're students of the game in terms of they're setting goals, and they're also students of the game in terms of they're always getting better. So they might debrief a networking event and say, man, what did I do really well about that? And what could I have done better? Or what do I need to do to sharpen the sauce? So they're never complacent with the current status quo. Even if it was a great event, even if it was a less than great event. We've also been to networking events that maybe are less than solid. It's like, I can still take something away from that, or I could still get better. What can I do better? Oh, well, maybe if I had reached out to a couple more people. I saw that person over there. They didn't say anything to me, but I could have gone over there and said something. So what we really want to do is continuously be sharpening the saw. I'm going to use a football analogy, which is always a bit of a gamble, considering that my knowledge of sports ball is a little shaky. But my husband's had a lot of football on in the last couple of weeks. I don't know if that's familiar to any of you, given all the games that have been taking place, the playoffs and what have you. And so I believe I saw our friends at Green Bay and Pittsburgh. They kind of met an early demise, right? And then we saw Atlanta and Patriots, New England, and they're going to be headed to the Super Bowl. And I want you to think about student of the game in the context of these athletes. So do we think that the Atlanta Falcons and the New England Patriots, after winning their games respectively, and if I recall, it was by a pretty big spread, right? Do we think that they went back to the locker room and they said, great job, boys, weekend's off, let's go have some beers?
Yeah, really.
Probably not. They probably said, that's awesome, boys, great job. Let's go watch some game film. Figure out where we can get even better, because next game's going to be even tougher, right? Next
2 weeks to prepare. Yep.
And that is, I would love to see every entrepreneur, every business owner, every salesperson treat their profession the way these athletes treat theirs, where we never rest on our laurels. Now, similarly, Green Bay and Pittsburgh. They went back to the locker room. Sadly, they lost, but they still had a pretty good run, right? Nothing to sneeze at. We think that they lost, and now they're done, and they're burying their heads in the sand. Now, they probably maybe shed a couple tears and had a moment, but do you think that they too got an opportunity and watched some game film and figured out where they could maybe made some key differences, some key plays?
Absolutely, yeah.
So the lesson here that I want to have us really think about is if we can approach our business with that same professionalism, that whether we have a great month or a terrible month, whether we have a great networking event or a terrible networking event, whether we get tons of leads or not a ton of leads. I just spoke to another I Teach the Lead chapter on referrals yesterday. If we can take that same professionalism and say, what can I do better next time? I don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time. I don't have to change everything in a day, but what's one thing that I can do to sharpen the saw for the next time? That's really how we climb our way to the top. Investing in your mind. Oh, I love this Jim Rohn quote. So part of being a student of the game too is per Jim Rohn, formal education will make you a living, but a self-education will make you a fortune.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I went to grad school. I don't poo-poo it by any means, but we don't need to spend, $70 grand on a formal education when a $17 a month Audible subscription can also really, really help us sharpen the saw as well. So figure out how can we constantly be getting better.
And you're never done educating yourself.
Never. It's a constant process. And that's what top producers have embraced. That's why I think Jim Rohn is so amazing after all. He's not done. He's not done learning he's still alive. I don't know. Anyway. Finally, take action now. Take action now. And this is particularly in the conversion. So I would say there's 50% of networking is what you do at the event, and the other 50% is what you do after the event or after the meeting with the contacts that you have. Okay, and we could dispute those percentages, but half the battle is getting our butts there and being engaged when we're there and talking to people and capitalizing on and working the room. But the other half of the battle is not just showing up and hoping that we can set it and forget it, but really turning that into a system or a process after the fact. That's where this take action now really comes into play. I referenced a little earlier, when we get all those cards, we pass our cards to the left, to the right. And
just opposite, doesn't matter.
Then depends, whatever way we're feeling that day. But when we pass our cards down, we all get a stack of people's cards there. What do we do with that? Do we actually extend a welcome to a new person? Do we actually, call on someone who we think might be a good business partner or a good referral partner and try to meet with them? Or do we put it off and put it off and put it off? I would suggest that there's probably some things that we're putting off because there's a little thing that we call, there's a little thing that that really robs us of our productivity. And it starts with a P. And I know Lynn and Becky, you guys aren't on mute, so I'm going to challenge you. Can you think of a thing that robs us of our productivity and steals from our pocket and starts with a P?
Pizza.
Yes. I don't know about Lynn. I think pizza makes me more productive.
Maybe procrastinate.
Yes. Procrastination. So Rory here is one of our co-founders, senior partners. Rory's amazing. This is, if you haven't read this book, this would be probably one of the best books you could read in 2017. Every single one of our clients who comes into our coaching program gets a copy of his book when they sign up. And I've never had a client regret reading it. Everybody says, "Oh, that's so good. Oh my gosh, I highlighted the heck out of it." But his point is that we all have an invisible cost in our business. Actually, the research shows that it's one of the most expensive costs in our business. We like to think of, there's supplies and there's, maybe equipment or operating expenses that some of us have. There's definitely overhead from our facilities for many of us. There's definitely labor. A lot of us have employees. And all those things cost us money, but the most expensive cost is actually that P word, procrastination. And the research shows On even a small scale, it costs over $10,000 per employee per year. And I think if you're a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, it's way higher than that, because we're trying to do it all. So we're our own 5 or 6 best employees. So where we see that procrastination really kicking in is this law of diminishing intent. I don't know if any of you have heard of this before. It's as sure a thing as gravity. And the law of diminishing intent says is the further that time goes on, the further we get away from our intention of doing something, the less likely we are to do it. So again, I'll use this example. We went to a Great I Take the Lead meeting, and I got a dozen or so really awesome business cards. I have every intention of reaching out to those people and scheduling a face-to-face meeting so we can get to know each other a little bit better and see how we can help each other grow. So I put the stack of cards. Well, first I put them on my desk, and then I get sick of looking at them for the next day or two because I'm really busy. So then I move them into my drawer, and then I'm cleaning out my drawer 3 months later, and I'm like, well, let me just toss these in the round file, right? The further out we get from our intention, the less likely we are to do something.
Oh, that's so true. That's true for me. Absolutely.
Totally.
Well, the less impact if you send a note saying, great seeing you at the meeting, and it's a month later, they'll say, what meeting?
Yeah.
No.
Who are
Who
you?
are you? Yeah.
Were you
Who?
yeah. And I heard this great analogy. I was given a workshop the other day, and someone said, oh, that really reminds me of the glass of water. Did you hear the one about the glass of water? And you guys have probably heard this too. But, professor says to his students, how heavy is this glass of water? It's, 12 or 16 ounce glass of water. So they all answer, oh, it's, 12, 16 ounces. And he says, well, it depends. Hold on to it for a second. It's 12 or 16 ounces. You hold on to it for an hour. Now how heavy is it?
Oh,
Hold on to it for a day. Now how heavy is it? So every time we procrastinate on something, we're holding on to that glass of water longer than we need to. And not only does it lessen the impact, like Lynn said, but it also burdens us even more. And I don't know about you guys, but there's not an entrepreneur, salesperson, manager, owner out there that just really needs more burdens in their life. I haven't met that person that's just looking for more burdens and more problems. So really we need to take action on those important things, on the significant things, not just on the urgent things. It's really easy to be reacting to the fires. It takes a really strong, courageous person to let the fire burn sometimes for a few minutes and say, but this is more important and this is ultimately more significant. And this is where I need to focus. So how do top producers overcome procrastination tendencies? Because here's the cool thing. So in Gary's research, one of the things was, is there a procrastination gene? Now he's not a bioscientist person, but, is there just something? Some people have it and some people don't. And the reality was no. Top producers, top networkers, top business owners, top entrepreneurs, they all have the desire to procrastinate just as much as us mere mortals. They all have the desire to do it. But the way they get around that, or the way they blow through that, more importantly, is by focusing on their income-producing activities. Income-producing activities. So what are the things that are going to make me money today? Not all the support activities, not all the reactive activities, but how do I make sure that I'm moving forward in the most important aspects of my business every single day? And if we put that in the context of networking and we say, what are the most important, 1 or 2 or 3 things that I could do in this networking event to walk away with something of value? Maybe, like we said before, maybe it's meeting a couple new people. You go to an event with 100 attendees. Maybe it's just meeting 5 new people that you haven't met before. Maybe it's getting 2 scheduled coffees on the books. Maybe it's getting 10 business cards if you're actually going to follow up with them. Maybe it's, like we said before, making sure you have a conversation if it's a smaller group. Find the person you know the least about and have a conversation with them, or set up a time to have a conversation. But that's where the planning and the strategy comes in, because how do we figure that out beforehand and then focus on that and only that when we go to the event or when we're working our business? You've all probably seen Stephen Covey's Big Rocks, where he has, the big rocks, then he has kind of the small rocks, and then he has the gravel, and then he has the sand.
Oh, yeah.
Put that in a jar, our tendency is to do the easy little stuff first. So we pour the sand in first, and then we pour in the gravel, and then we put in the medium or the small rocks. And our tendency is to save the hardest and usually the most important non-time sensitive stuff for last. And then our jar's filled up and we have no room for it. And so Stephen Covey really made it famous. He wasn't the one that came up with that concept, but he really made that concept famous of putting in the big rocks first. If you put in the big rocks first, then the gravel or the medium rocks or the small rocks will fill in around it. And then the gravel will fill in around that. And then the sand will fill in around that. And so the big rocks really are our most significant, most important, not necessarily most urgent, but most significant and most important tasks and activities. So far, so good?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, Lynn and I were just heard one of our speakers talking about the rocks in the sand today in the jar.
That's a great visual. It's such a great visual. I challenge you, if your income is not where you want it to be, if your networking is not as effective as you'd like it to be, if your business isn't growing the way you'd like it to grow, it's a priorities issue. It's a priorities issue. We're dealing with the minutia instead of dealing with our big rocks first.
Right. And I want to point out, because Bob Shannon, he had put a note where you had asked the question and he said every day. He said, however, I overcome it. The number one thing I don't want to do is the first thing that I do. And so that is great. And that's like what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So thanks
for eat the frog, right? Get big, important, significant. If you had an importance and significance scale for everything that you do in a day, and you 1 to 10 on importance and 1 to 10 on significance, screw urgency. I mean, and that's a hard pill to swallow because we all want to put the fire out, but screw urgency, important and significant. And we only did the most important, most significant things. I promise you, your business would be revolutionized. In our coaching program, that's what we help people do. We're like personal trainers for your business. And it's amazing because, on average, our clients increase their personal income 23%. Simply because we help them focus on the important and urgent things and start putting to the side, important and significant things, and the urgent things start to put themselves out when we shift our focus. So I love what he said, but yeah, we want to eat the frog.
Yep.
Find a way, not an excuse. So again, find a way, not an excuse to become a better networker, to make time for networking, to work a room when you're networking. Be a student of the game. How can I get better? Sometimes it's, we talked a little at the event I spoke at yesterday, the meeting I spoke at yesterday, about there are words that matter. So when I'm saying, is my 30-second commercial as sharp as it could be? If I hear someone has a really great 30-second commercial, how can I maybe steal a little from them and just get a little bit better? How can I work a room a little bit better today than I did last time I went? How can I law of reciprocity? How can I help someone else instead of just looking at how someone else can help me, right? That's how some of the ways we can become a student of the game. And then take action now. Get to the events that have our people at them, our ideal client profiles or our ideal referral partner profiles. Get to those events. Schedule time for the follow-up that goes with an event. There's probably as much follow-up from every event as the length of time the event itself takes.
And don't be afraid to ask somebody a question. If they're at a networking event, by nature, they probably want to help you.
Sure. Absolutely. So I want to switch gears a little bit here. I'm going to go through just some fun kind of mini sales cycle stuff. I'll give you an opportunity so everybody can hit their screenshot button if they can't write very fast. I'm going to send you a couple complimentary training videos. So these guys are awesome. Dave Brown on the top left there with the wide eyes. He's one of our best prospectors. He knows how to help you find business and prospect for business. He's amazing at that. Rory on the middle right there. He's the one who wrote Take the Stairs. His niche is really being the self-discipline strategist. Amanda, she's amazing at selling to the opposite sexes or selling to the different sexes, and also social media. So we've got some of our senior partners that are giving you some tips on how you can really grow your business. If you email marjorieswcbonus@gmail.com. Now keep in mind that's not my personal email or my business email. That's just an email that triggers these videos. So
okay.
don't email me there if you have a question. Just email yourself there if you want to receive these videos. Put your name in the subject line, because Becky, if you wrote in test or videos in there, it would say hi videos. So put Becky in the subject line. But go ahead and do that if you'd like to get some really great tips and tools and ideas on some different stuff. Screenshot it, because I'm going to turn the slide here in just a second if you haven't written it down. It's essentially Marjorie, my first name, swcbonus@gmail.com. I want to go into some technical things here for a second. Mostly I've talked now about conception. I'll buzz through the technical, because really we've got two components. We've got how we think about something, and then actually putting what we think and what we know into action. So I'm going to go into the technical how here, and I'm just going to talk about the cycle of the sale. So let's say you're at an event, and I'm with Lynn, and I know that Lynn, Lynn he works with businesses who take credit cards, and so oftentimes probably the businesses that he works with are selling something. Imagine that, right? If they process credit cards, they're probably selling something. I work with salespeople, so hey, maybe we might be really good strategic alliances. So I'm talking with Lynn. I'm asking about some of the people that he knows, and so we're networking at one of I take the lead meetings, and I find out about a business that he helps that does, let's just say insurance. I'll just throw out insurance for now. And so he tells me about Bill Smith, who does insurance. I want to get a little pre-approach on Bill Smith. So some of the things I might want to learn about Bill before I call Bill are, what is Bill, how long has he been in business? What is he like? Is Bill like, get to the point kind of person, or is Bill like a long and social and let's be best friends? Is Bill like a lot of data and facts, or is he, short and sweet? So pre-approach helps me tailor my initial approach to Bill in a way that Bill will be most receptive to me. Because Becky, Lynn, how many seconds do we have, or how much time do we have to make a good first impression?
You got about 3 seconds.
3 seconds, especially on the phone. Maybe in person you have 30 to 60, but on the phone you have 3, 7. It's not very long. Yeah. So we want to make sure that our pre-approach, we get as much information on the person as we can. Sometimes we want to get a funny story from them, so I can call Becky, who let's say Lynn recommended Becky. I can call Becky and say, oh yeah, Lynn was just telling me about this great networking group that you run, and he said we definitely need to talk about that, and I should probably introduce myself because I do a couple of these things. Are you open to having that conversation now? Now Becky knows that we've really, Lynn really helped pass the baton, because through Lynn I told a story that Becky could connect. So that's really what pre-approach does.
And as you network more, you're looking for those areas to introduce somebody to.
Yes.
So as I network, and when I'm introducing, I'm saying, okay, where are those areas of commonality? I want to make sure they know those right up front.
And think about it when you're asking for this. Think about you're at a backyard barbecue, and you want to meet someone there, and before you just walk over to them and just run into them, it's like, oh, well, tell me a little bit about them. So, hey, I heard you, fill in the blank. We're just finding that commonality. That's what the approach really is. The approach is that 3 seconds, 7 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute, where we make that first impression. It's so important. We've all had a gut check where we're like, I don't know about that person. They kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So we don't want to be that person. The way we prevent ourselves from being that. And the funny thing with it too, that I always feel bad, is when someone has rubbed us the wrong way, they're likely not a serial killer. Right? They're likely not a bad person, but something in their approach just didn't click. So we don't want that to happen when we're delivering our approach. So then once we have that, that this is what I do, should we talk, then we get to go into what we call at Southwestern the introduction. The introduction is really where we have a more at-length conversation. Now at a networking event, maybe at length is only 5 minutes. Maybe this is the follow-up conversation at the coffee shop where it can go as long as 45 minutes. We have a more at-length conversation where I start to actually figure out your situation. And I learn about, who you are, where you come from, what problems you may have that I might solve. Again, the networking event isn't to do business. The networking event is to create a space where we can have an honest conversation about doing business. The introduction is where we really start to uncover surface indicators, if you will, of any pain that might lie in beneath that might give you enough of a compelling emotional reason to change what you're doing. Maybe go from not taking credit cards at all to taking credit cards, if Lynn's having this conversation, or maybe having these people process your merchant services versus us processing your merchant services. And then brought up the chip machines and things yesterday. So that there could be pain there, and that's, people really don't do business until there's enough pain that's greater than the cost of change. Because every time we change something, it costs us something. We want to uncover that. Then we present, and then we can present how we might be able to solve those pains. The presentation should really only entail solving the problem for the person. Then we get to close. Are we a good fit? What should our next steps be? And so typically, if we've done a great introduction, the presentation is really short and sweet, and then the close is what do we do next? But occasionally we get objections. Occasionally, sure, I got to think about this. Those are usually red flags that we didn't get enough stuff in the previous couple steps, but it still happens. And I will say that, sometimes even in a networking event, we might get objections to even meeting. Oh, I don't know, I'm really busy. Oh, I already refer to someone in that category. I work a lot with mortgage loan officers and realtors. And mortgage loan officers are always looking to find new realtors to refer them business. So I might meet, if I'm a mortgage loan officer, I might meet a realtor at an event, and the realtor might say, oh, I already refer to 3 or 4 different loan officers. And so that would be an objection that even at the networking event, I could have done a better job in my introduction to prevent, but I can also answer it and hope to get past it. Either way, getting past it or not, if I get a yes or a no, then I can move on to getting more referrals. So even at a networking event, maybe that person's not a fit, but I can still say, well, who do you know? I tend to work a lot with these types of people. Who else do you know that I could just say hi to? And I can get more referrals, and then bada boom, bada bing, guess where we go next, Becky? Back to pre-approach. So really that's the cycle, and it can happen this can all happen in the span of 7 minutes. If we're meeting someone and we want to figure out if we're going to close the sale on getting a coffee appointment.
Right.
It can happen over 7 calls in 7 years if you have a really long cycle of sales. So it kind of depends, but we're having mini sales all along the way. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, to me.
Step-by-step process.
What was that?
It's a step-by-step process. You've
Yes.
got to have the patience.
Yeah, the more that we realize that networking, that selling is just a system, it really helps us kind of take our control back, because if something's not working, we just figure out what part of the system is breaking down, and we become a student of the business, and we fix that part of the system.
Uh-oh.
Margie froze. Uh-oh.
Yeah. It must be your computer. Which is kind of nice, because she was right at the end there. we got to see it, but yeah, I don't know if she'll be back. Let me see.
See if I've got her phone number here. Maybe I can text her and tell her she's frozen.
Yeah.
She might not realize it. She could be just talking away and wondering why nobody's responding. Oh, she's gone now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she'll probably be back with yeah. Well, I'm gonna open it up because I know, Lynn, you can answer some questions, and I can answer some questions. Unfortunately, right now we can't unless she's back. Let me see. No.
I don't see her.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me
That's
see
too bad.
participants if she's gone.
Yeah, her computer must have, the charge must have died. Well, I've unmuted everybody, and I'm gonna mute you all again. Okay. So raise your hand if you have any questions or anything you'd like to say. You should all have Margie's. Oh, make sure let's see, Lynn, I'm gonna unmute you. And,
there we go.
or you can unmute yourselves, actually. You get, hi, Bob. Thanks for writing that down there. And hi, Duncan and Bernadette. You were the first up, I think. So do we have is there any questions, or would anybody like to add anything? And just unmute yourself.
I'll throw out, when she's talking about networking in particular, one of the biggest things you can do that people are hesitant to do is think about any other social situation. Try to be welcoming. If you're looking around and see somebody at a meeting that's kind of off by themselves, go talk to them. See if you can help them meet somebody else. Find out what they do and try to make an introduction. That warms things up, and it makes you stand out quite a bit different than everybody else. So it's all about being welcoming. And then following a meeting, send an email. Just say, it was nice seeing you. Do you have any questions? Especially if you're a longtime member of the group. Open yourself up to helping other people, and networking will work better for you.
And I've noticed they really look up to you, too. You, Lynn. They look up.
Oh, okay. Well, that's because I'm tall.
Oh, I don't think that's what I meant. So, but Bob asked a question, and he says, how do people who don't have time on their side wait for a network to come full circle? So, Bob, do you want to, can you unmute yourself? I'll unmute you. Uh-oh.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the question is this, I've been in my business for quite some time. One of the questions that I get quite often is, how do people, in a networking event, and I understand that, the points that you're making, that, it does take time, and it's about opportunity when opportunity is there. How do people who don't have time on their side, whether it's, funding, or there's a limited window where they have time available, how can they accelerate through the networking process? Is there a way to do that?
There is. I call it kind of targeted networking, and the best example would be going to a chamber event. You go to a chamber event or a Portland Business Alliance, and there's 150 people there. And you've got an introduction and a name of a company, so you know what they do. I take notes. So if there's 100 people there, that can turn into a worthless meeting because there's too much going on. What I do then is I know what type of companies I work with and who I want to meet with. So I look to meet 2 or 3 people. I take their names, I look for them, and I write a note. And after the meeting, I go grab them. And I say, this is what I do. I understand this is what you do. I think we can work together. Can we meet and talk about how we can work together? And that always works, because you're getting to the point, you're helping shorten the time span for them, and you're making use of a big event and not waiting for it to come to you. You have to be very targeted and very specific, and a little more aggressive in going after that targeted person that you know you can work with.
Would you say that, I'm sorry to jump back in there, would you say then that's so imperative for the entrepreneur, the solopreneur, to know exactly what their niche in the market is, or what it is they can do for the person?
Absolutely, and you know who you want to work with. If you do that, you can dial it up much more quickly. If you go to an event just hoping that you'll run into somebody that might work, you're kind of wasting your time. You need to think about who's at this meeting. You might have to have a couple meetings where you get the experience and say, this meeting has this type of people. Rotary Clubs has a different mix. Every event's a little bit different, and define which ones work for you. So you might have to do a little groundwork that seems like a waste of time, but you're dialing it in. And when you do that, then you've got a targeted audience, and you can go after them. And if you see somebody, like for me, I've done that work before, where there's a telecom guy. We can work together. We can go in and write together and help every account. And boom, I go grab them and say, we need to talk, and basically ignore everybody else there, because they're the people I need to talk to.
Thank you.
You bet. Becky. Did we lose Becky now?
Becky's on mute.
Lynn, will you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Lynn Gray. I'm the credit card guy that they've been referring to. I've been networking for about 13 years with I Take the Lead. Start out B2C, now B2B. But the networking groups for me, I do them typically at lunch. So I don't want to be bothering clients at lunchtime, and it's a great way to build teams of people. And over the years, networks come and go. You meet a lot of people, but you meet a lot of great business owners, and you make friends. And it's a very productive use of my time.
Lynn's one of our rock star networkers. Alan, I unmuted you. Would you like to introduce yourself? He's another rock star networker in Denver.
Hi, I'm Alan. I just walked in off the street. No, I'm kidding. I'm a mortgage loan originator here in Denver, and I've actually been with I Take the Lead since March of last year. So, and it's been really good for me.
Very good. And Bernadette had questions. Bernadette, you want to unmute yourself, and where are you located at? Oh, we can't hear you. Yeah. You want to write it down and just let us know where you're located at? Because we may have, because Bernadette wanted to know how to start suggestions of starting your own networking events. And I have several suggestions, but if I can let you know whether I Take the Lead is where you're located at. Oh, Vegas. Okay. We have the meetup in Vegas. Meetup is a great way to create your own events. And if you go to other meetup events like mixers or whatever, and start getting in touch with those people and then invite them to your meetup. Also, I know BNI is down there. They have a couple leads groups, and that might be an option for you as well, Bernadette, to go check those out. Right now, I Take the Lead is not. We do have mixers down there from time to time, but right now we don't have any leads groups. Did that help answer your question?
Is Bernadette in Las Vegas?
Yeah. Are you, Bob?
Yes, I'm in Las Vegas as well, and I'm going to an event tonight down in Town Center. This is my second one going to them, and I've got 2 clients
already.
But yeah, personal coaching clients that I've worked with just by attending one event. And
Nice.
So yeah, it does work, and it's in tonight. It's at the Blue Martini. Bernadette, if you can hear me. It's in the Blue Martini at Town Square.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's a very great event. There's like 100 some people there tonight. It's already registered.
Oh, very good. Very good. Yeah. Well, thank you. And Duncan, where are you from? Since you're on here, or can you unmute yourself or tell us where you're from? I'm just curious. Or T. Duncan?
Yeah, my name is Tavis. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
So I'm kind of new to this, doing real estate wholesaling. So I wanted to kind of get into learning about networking and things like that, and how to make myself more approachable. I notice I go to some of the events and people are kind of standoffish. So.
Well, very good. Well, just so you know, all of you, because we have meetups, and the reason we have them is when we are in town, we do like a free mix or something like that. So watch for us. But we host these networking webinars. Oh, there's Marjorie. Hi, Marjorie.
Tell us what you do, Marjorie.
Oh, she's muted. Let me unmute her. Okay. Okay. Well, we know. I figured your computer died or something.
I don't even know. No, the whole presentation froze.
Yeah, you froze. So we just been conversing with everybody.
So it must have been on my end. Is there anyone still left?
Oh yeah. Several of us. Yeah.
So I only have a few minutes, but
Yeah, you have 5 minutes. So does anybody have any questions for Marjorie?
yeah,
And
let's
unmute
do
yourself.
that.
Yeah, yeah. Because they were asking questions, but Lynn was answering, so.
Good job,
Yeah,
Lynn.
so who knows what I got out of it, you know. They're confused now. Help them, Marjorie, help them.
I trust you.
So,
Any questions?
One
Let me do
question
this
I
then.
have.
okay.
One question I have is when networking, I attended a few networking events, and one of the things I noticed when I go to the events is people are kind of standoffish, like when talking to me, like, you know, it's more so one of the things where I have to really find people to approach myself,
Yes.
you know, because people really don't want to approach me. So
Yeah.
is it something I'm doing, or how do I make myself more
Not
approachable?
usually. People like their bubble. Most people like their bubble. Even extroverts sometimes prefer to be extroverts with the people they already know. It's a very rare person. I'm just going to throw a number out here, but just from what I've seen, maybe 20% of the people truly embrace finding someone else to talk to that they don't know. So if you want to make the most of networking, you've got to be that 20%. You've got to be the guy that says, hey, you know, I don't think we've met before. I'd love to hear a little bit about what you do, and you know, see if it makes sense for us to keep talking, you know, and it's the hardest thing for people to get over because it's just so easy to not do that.
Right.
If we allow ourselves to be the wallflowers, then unfortunately we're not using that hour, that event. We're not maximizing that hour of the event. So I would say keep doing it. People might give you weird looks, but that's them, not you. And you'll be the last one laughing because you're the one who's going to know the most people and get the most business and make the most connections by stepping out of your comfort zone and even forcing them to step out of theirs.
I'll say too, I'm kind of a good sized guy, and people tend to sometimes back off of you when you're a little bit larger. It's taller, I guess. And
Right.
so you do have to be a little more outgoing as a guy. And if you have a friend, you can take networking, approaching with two people, sometimes easier than one. So team up with somebody, take somebody along, say, let's go networking together, maybe a complementary business. And that can work for you too. Having two people approach and say, hi, I do real estate. This is my friend. They do mortgages or whatever. It kind of disarms people and they open up. You can even use that cold calling. It does miracles.
Always asking them questions, though, is the best diffuser of anything, because people will find it much easier to talk about them than any other topic.
Yep.
What do you do? How long have you been doing it? Oh, that's interesting. How'd you get into that business? What do you like about doing that? What's the hardest part of your job? You know, just having an arsenal of really good questions so that you can keep the conversation flowing. Nobody likes an awkward pause. Similarly, though, know when to get out of a non-productive conversation. So if you realize pretty quickly that they're not your ideal client or they're not a good referral partner for you, have really great transitions to say, you know, I really appreciated meeting you. I'd love to take a card, and if I find someone who could use what you do, I'll introduce you. And it was great meeting you. I hope to see you around. You know, and having great transitions to exit networking situations too is just as important as great questions to help you get into networking situations.
That really worked well. I usually scream earthquake and run out of the meeting.
Yeah. So maybe
It also works.
height, Lynn. Then it's not your height as to why people shy away. It's actually the guy that keeps calling earthquake, and we don't know why.
Might be it, yeah.
We've got time for maybe one more if we're done. I want to throw out my email address because I want to give another freebie. Whoever likes freebies. So my email is mdudley. That's MDUDLEY. And this is where it gets long. At southwesternconsulting.com. mdudley at southwesternconsulting.com. If for whatever reason you don't get that right, you know, Becky has it.
Yeah.
But anybody who emails me, I will send you. Oh, Lynn, I still got to send you for winning yesterday, but you can still send me, and I'll give you a different one so you can get.
Okay.
I will send
Nice.
you one of our training packages. We've got 42 Days to Prospecting Power by Dave Brown. We've got 30 tips in 30 days for sales success by AJ Vaden. We've got Rory's got a great talk if you do a lot of public speaking that says the audience is not in our underwear. So gives you some tips on great public speaking. If you email me and put in the subject, freebie or something like that, I take the lead freebie, and I'll email you back the list of a couple different things that we have, and you can pick which one that you would like. So this is different than the one from before. So if you want both, go for both. If you want one or the other, that's fine. But on my way out, I'll leave you with a couple parting gifts. How's that sound? But you got to email me.
Quick question, because we had a lot of people who registered who knew they couldn't be here today. And so I will, as long as I recorded this correctly, I will be sending them the recordings.
Sure.
Oh, does it count for them as well?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
They email me, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so-
Because they'll have to watch this and listen to
Yes,
it.
so
to
they won't
find out.
know. Don't put it in the
Yeah,
email. They have
I
to
won't.
watch it to the end, including the awkward part where my computer goes blank.
Exactly. I'll
They-
talk to, they have to watch
get
the
to
whole
the end.
thing.
They can sit through that and get to the end. I'll also put out there for, we have coaches in every area that you are. So we've got 90 coaches across the country. If you're interested in talking to me about a coach that might be a good fit for you, you're interested in having one of our coaches like me talk to your business or something like that, you can also email me about all that good stuff. So we've got lots of opportunities, but I'll have a free coaching session with anybody who wants to say, what's this coaching thing all about? Why would I even want a business coach? Show me what that's like so I can see if it's a fit for me. So anybody can have a free coaching session with me as well.
Very nice. Very nice.
And I'm going to throw out a quick kudos. I've had a lot of sales training in corporate sales positions over the decades. And Marjorie's got some good training. She knows what she's doing. And if you need some help selling and learning what you're doing, give her a call. She can really help you. You can't replace good sales training. And if you don't have it and you want to get successful, you might want to look at getting a little training.
Absolutely. Well, Marjorie, I want to thank you very much. I know you have to run because you said 4 o'clock. So, but I want to thank everybody for being here and our future viewers who are watching this because you couldn't be here today. Thanks, Alan. Glad you're here. Thanks so much, Lynn, for being, well, I guess I'm your sidekick. But and thanks again, Marjorie. But I'm going to shut it up now. Bye, everybody.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
having me.
Bye.
Take
Thank
care.
you.